Hey everyone, Coach Mark here. We're into the 5th month of the year, so we have 4 months down, third of the year down. I hope every single one of you is getting better and better every single week, every single day, every single hour. That should always be our goal, right? We set all these huge goals at the beginning of the year and whatnot, and that's all fine and dandy, but our main priority, our main goal should always strive to become better and better every single day. Don't let a day go by and you're not trying to improve yourself, not trying to take yourself to the next level. And if you make these small incremental improvements every single day, after the course of a year, you're going to see this you're going to become a completely different person for the better, right? We're all going to change, but we want to make sure that we change for the better. So, most of this year, a lot of the private coaching I do, I still do, these power and a half hour calls every single week and whatnot. And I work with a lot of people, but a lot of the private coaching that I do is with athletes. And one of the things that I work on when I do work with the athletes is self-talk, right? Is self-talk, making sure that they're saying the right things to themselves. And, it kind of has me thinking about when I was a kid, and I'm sure each and every single one of us had this experience when we were younger on the playground. And sometimes kids just say the meanest things to us, right? They just, they'll just say it how it is. They'll, make fun of us. They just, sometimes, I don't know where they get it from, but sometimes kids are just really mean and cruel. I remember even myself when I was a kid, I used to say some really mean things to people and whatnot. I don't even know where I got that from, but just as kids, that's just how we are. And another area where I would see people just say like really mean and cruel things to each other was, when I was probably early teenage years, or maybe 10, 11, 12, I remember I used to watch Divorce Court after I got home from school. And I never knew this. Is kind of like mind blowing to me. But a lot of people got divorced because of mental abuse, or verbal abuse, and I guess that was a grounds for which somebody could get a divorce from someone because someone else said a lot of mean things to them and whatnot, right? So, we can divorce somebody because they say really mean things to us. And I've seen people get into fights. I've even seen people get killed behind other people saying really mean things to them. But you know who ultimately says the meanest things to you? You. That's right. Most of the time, 99% of the time, we are the ones that are saying the meanest things to ourselves. So we have to pay really close attention to what we are saying to ourselves on a day-to-day basis, right? If we're saying negative things to ourselves, we can't do this, we can't do that, we aren't going to be successful, we are going to be a failure, then what is going to happen? Like ultimately, whatever you say to yourself, that is what you're going to end up manifesting. And as cruel as a lot of these little kids are, as cruel as we've had some of the meanest people in our lives say some really, really negative things towards us, I think, most definitely we end up saying the meanest, cruelest things to ourselves. So we have to make sure that we put ourselves in a pattern of when we do get in the mode to say those negative things to ourselves, we have to first become aware of it, and then we got to stop that pattern. That's a really, really, really dangerous pattern to get in when you're constantly telling yourself negative things over and over and over again, because you'll start manifesting those things into your life. And for a lot of people, that's the only reason why they haven't been able to create any level of success in their life, is because they're constantly telling themselves negative things, telling themselves that they can't become successful, telling themselves that they can't achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. And after a while, you keep saying those things over and over and over again, you're going to start really, really believing them. And they're just going to be a part of your psyche, or, just a part of the way that you do things. And I'm sure that, each and every single one of us has come across people that were just so negative, just really, really pessimistic people. And these are the people that have this negative self-talk. They're constantly telling themselves what they can't do. And then it goes from there to them trying to tell everybody else about what it is that they can't do. Because generally, when you come across people that are really pessimistic, that are always negative, I mean, and are always trying to tell you what you can and can't do, generally, what it really is that they don't believe that they can do those things, you know? So they want to try to pass on how they feel about themselves onto you, you know? So we have to really, really be careful that we don't become these type of people ourselves, right? We have to make sure that we stay clear of them, understand what it is that they're doing when they are doing it, and not allow their words, their negativity to rub off on us. And we have to make sure that we don't become those type of people, because we don't want to discourage anyone around us from doing whatever it is that they could possibly do. And at the same time, we definitely don't want to discourage ourselves from being all that we possibly can be. So you really want to be really conscious of the words that you say to yourself, that you repeat to yourself on any sort of regular basis. I did a book on this last year called Repeat After Me. And the whole basis of the book was talking about affirmations. And, you know, it had you create affirmations that you would say to yourself on a daily basis. Like, you know, I am this, I am that, I am a wonderful father, I am a loving person, I am super successful, you know, and constantly saying these things to yourself over and over and over and over again till they start to seep down from your conscious mind into your subconscious mind. And the problem that I see with some people is that their conscious mind doesn't believe it. So when they start saying these affirmations, they start rejecting them, right? And it never ever seeps down into the subconscious mind, which is really the part of our mind that's in control of everything, right? So you can say these things, you can say these affirmations, and if your conscious mind doesn't believe them and says, nah, I don't, you know you're not. You know you're not successful. You've never done anything successful. Then you reject these things and they never seep down. But I think that if you, you know, there's quite a few different ways that you could actually get it to bypass that block, that conscious mind, if it is trying to block out that information. Or, you know, I also think that you can, you know, by you doing it over and over and over and over and over again, especially very early in the morning, and then and when your brain is at a certain state, or very late at night before you go to bed, it's easier for it to bypass that conscious mind where it's going to try to put that block in and seep down into your subconscious mind. And once it seeps down into your subconscious mind, then that's when the magic actually ends up occurring in your life, and you're able to really, really start believing those things, and then you'll start to see that your life will manifest. You'll be able to manifest the things that you desire and become the person that you want to become. So it's really, really important that you control the words that you say to yourself. Make a list of all the things that you want to be. You know, if you haven't had a chance yet, download my book, www.repeataftermebook. And I talk in the beginning of the book. You can download it for free. I talk in the beginning of the book how to go about creating affirmations, or you can just go on Google and do a search about creating affirmations. Just make sure that you get the instructions from a good source that tells you the right way to create your affirmations and whatnot, and start just monitoring what you say to yourself, and start telling yourself a bunch of positive stuff every single day. You know what I'm saying? Make a list of like your what I would call, and this is what I use with my athletes, a confidence resume. You know, so make a list of like all the things that you've been successful with in your life, and then just repeat those stuff to yourself and really encourage and motivate yourself, because as you start believing this, you're going to start developing your confidence. And once your confidence gets developed, right, and you really believe that you can be successful, then you will go out there and take all the steps that you need to take to become successful in whatever field that you want to become in. A lot of times, you know, the reason why most people aren't successful is because deep down inside they don't believe it, because they're constantly telling themselves something negative, and then they don't take the action necessary to become successful, you know. And then they say to themselves, see, I told you, could never be successful. The only reason why you're not successful is because you're not taking enough action, right? You're not taking enough consistent action. And that's only because you keep telling yourself that you aren't going to be successful. So it's kind of almost like a nasty cycle that you're in. You're telling yourself that you aren't going to be successful. Because you're telling yourself you aren't going to be successful, you believe that you aren't going to be successful, then you end up not becoming success. You end up not taking the actions to become successful. Then you end up not becoming successful, and then you go back and tell yourself the negative stuff again. See, I told you, you aren't successful. And it's just like a really bad cycle that we could sometimes allow ourselves to get in. So we have to be very careful about what we say to ourselves and make sure that we're telling ourselves positive, encouraging things, and without saying, stay away from people that aren't telling us encouraging things and whatnot. That's so very, very important. But I think that before we monitor the other people around us that may not be telling us the right things, we need to make sure that we monitor what we are telling ourselves, because that is so very important, right? Because if you're telling yourselves positive stuff, then when other people start telling you negative, it'll just float away. You won't even, after a while, you won't even pay attention to it. And once people see that you're confident, that you're a really strong and confident person, they won't even tell you anything negative anymore. They won't even try to discourage you. They'll save their discouragement for somebody weaker that will probably accept whatever their thoughts are and whatnot. So be careful of what you say to yourself, because guess what? You are listening. All right. Thank you much. And until next week.